So I know it's going to be very tempting to just skip this video once I'm done with the review of Electrician Simulator, but please hang out because I'm really curious what your thoughts are on this other topic of gamers need to be comfortable with not owning their games, and the whole subscription service in general, and what your thoughts are. What is up, you amazing people? It is Nima here, and today we're going to do one of those episodes where I'm going to talk about a couple things. I'm going to do a review. In fact, the review is of a game called Electrician Simulator, which is pretty cool. But this also leads to me having another topic to talk about because, well, let's just be honest, there's not a lot to talk about in the game. It is what it is. But we'll get to all of that. But first, I wanted to tell you a sob story. A sob story about a like button and a subscribe button. Nobody pushed on them, and they lost their jobs. They went away forever. Their families are homeless and hungry. Let's make sure that doesn't happen to these two like and subscribe buttons, because we want to keep them housed and fed. Anyway, on to the game. Starting off, I have to thank the publishers for a review code for this game. Without that, I wouldn't have been able to play it or review it, so that's important. But like I said, there isn't a lot to the game. But what is there is really cool, is just it can be explained rather simple. You're a person who's looking to become an electrician. You have to study a little bit, do a couple VR missions, get your certificates, and then you're basically a certified electrician. So you go from job to job and you're able to fix different things, and these things can range from jobs that you're actually doing at your own workbench where people will send you stuff, which might be my favorite jobs, or the ones where you go to other homes and you kind of figure out the wiring, set up receptacles, run wire even, mess with fuse boxes. It really does run the gambit of electrical issues, and I do think that's pretty cool because even when you're doing the stuff that you're doing at your workbench, when people send you things, they really do break down these complex items, and I don't know for certain because I've never opened some of these things, but I think that they've done a pretty good job of breaking down what's all in, like a toy robot or a drone. I mean, you're pulling out motors, circuit boards, all sorts of stuff. And even though I'm mechanically challenged, I had no problem disassembling things, diagnosing problems, reassembling them, testing it, and sending it back to the customer. I really had no problem with any of that. Now, some of the things where you did travel to other people's homes and you ran wire or even set up like light switches or receptacles and whatnot, that could be a little tricky, but it's pretty cool because they have a whole tutorial system set up and they have the VR missions that you do before you're quote-unquote certified to be able to handle these problems, and you can sort of cheese your way through it, because I did, and then get to a point where you're like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. How do I run a wire again? But what's cool there again is the tutorial. You can just go back to that and it'll pretty much tell you how to do it and, what's the best approach and what steps you need to take to be able to fix the problem. I will also say too, when you're working on a lot of the items that customers send you, there is a hint button, and this hint button is like key. It is the star of the show at times because things like a toy robot, you're taking apart like hundreds of pieces, it feels like. I know it's not. It's probably like 20 or 30, but you forget what goes where and how to put it in there. And so the hint button just basically tells you what to do next, where to put something next. And so that for me was really important. The other thing was they had an aim assist on here, and I didn't think that would be a big deal. Whatever, right? No, that thing is very important because when you're messing with a bunch of wires and screws, it's really easy to overshoot your target, like what you're trying to interact with. And that aim assist just like locks onto the thing that's closest. Really, really clutch, especially when you're dealing with like running wire or something like that. But I have to say, like, graphically, game looks good. I really feel like the realism is there. As I said before, I don't know. I know nothing about doing electrical work. I've never taken apart most things besides like switch controllers, but it looks right. Like most of the stuff looks like, yeah, I believe that. That's probably what's in there. That's probably how these things are put together. And so it doing that, and then also having another element to it where you're purchasing different items to use later. And I like that. So like on your computer, which is where you take most of your missions and your jobs, the thing is you can actually just go shopping. And I like this because you can look for things that are on sale that you know you're going to use later. And this way is a really good way to be able to really stack your paper. Because I will be honest, a lot of the jobs where you're taking certain items and fixing them for customers, especially early on, you're actually losing money a lot of times. And so it is nice to be able to save and scrimp where you can and to kind of plan ahead. Ultimately, I have to say, this game is really fun. I really enjoyed it. It's one of those games that I could see just killing way too much time on, but without it having a story or even really a direction outside of, hey, fix this junk, it still gives you that, like, ability to just kind of kick back and relax. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, my biggest issue with the game, and really my only issue, is the price point. It is pretty pricey. In fact, it was on sale for around like $15, I believe, and I think its normal price is like $20. And so, yeah, that's, for me, kind of a big issue, especially when you're looking at it being a simulator game. Yes, it's another simulator game, but it's a really good one, I'll say. So if you're into simulator games, you're going to like this one. But, if you're not, obviously, you probably shouldn't get it. But I will say, if I was going to give this game a number score, I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. A lot better than I thought it would be. A lot more fun than I thought it would be. So what was the other thing I was going to talk about? Ubisoft. Everybody, including myself, is incredibly excited for Prince of Persia. And that has been, a real boom for Ubisoft, because Ubisoft has taken a lot of L's lately. Well, Ubisoft is going to Ubisoft. And turns out their president is actually doing an interview recently. And in there, he made a comment where he said, gamers need to be more comfortable not owning their games. And in the context, he was really talking about a subscription service and how that kind of works. But I also kind of thought about digital as well, because the whole gaming community went pretty much insane when they saw this and made a huge deal. But I was thinking, if I took these same gamers and I said, hey, what have you invested more of your gaming money into, physical copies or digital? I'm pretty sure a lot of them would say more digital. And that cold reality hits you in the face that when you buy a digital game, you ain't buying a game. No, they're selling you the right to play a game. And if that game's not there, you basically have nothing. And so I think that really hit home to a lot of gamers, because I think we are seeing this thing with Nintendo Online, PlayStation Plus, Game Pass, of course. And he was essentially talking about Ubisoft Plus, which is another subscription service where you basically, in this scenario, he was hawking the new Prince of Persia, that if you signed up for it for, I think it's $17.99 a month, it gives you the whole Ubisoft catalog and you would get the new Prince of Persia. The thing is, though, too, with this specifically, Ubisoft Plus is only fully available on PlayStation and PC, I believe. That in itself has a lot of problems. But I do see the bigger picture that he was talking about, and that is the game industry in general is moving more to a subscription service. Like, hey, we're not going to bring back our old games, but if you sign on to our subscription, you'll be able to access them. And the main comparison was like Netflix, Hulu, and going all digital when it came to movies and TV shows, and how that just transitioned without a problem. But with games, it's not going to be that same way. One, it's a completely different ballgame, because I think 92% of all video games are not available to the public, which is insane. If you go back from now till when gaming started, essentially, 92% of them are inaccessible. And over the years, we've also kind of been lied to. I mean, how many times have you seen a game on an eShop, whether it be PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo, and then it disappears and it goes away for like a year, and then we find out they're making a remake, and of course they're going to charge you more for the remake, and lo and behold, the original game is not available anymore. So when we hear about a subscription service and some platforms going basically all subscription service in their own way, this is what we think is going to happen, and rightfully so, because they've never really given us a reason to trust them, and to trust that just because we're paying for a subscription service, they're going to always have the games that we want. The games that we've been playing for years, that they're just going to always be there. In fact, we pretty much know that they won't. And the argument was made, well, then you can just buy that game. But honestly, I'm not even sold on digital markets not going away just randomly. Because like I said before, we don't even own the game when we buy it digitally. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, because I think that would just be too messy legally, especially now. Because it really does seem like the mostly digital sales started last generation, the PS4, the Xbox One, even the Nintendo Switch era. And so those are probably at a point where there's just so much invested that it would be a gigantic lawsuit if they just shut those down. But it got me thinking about the whole subscription thing and what happens, and we know it's going to happen, when a game is only available on the subscription service. Like, that's how they're going to get you. Hey, you can't play this game unless you sign up for our service. I don't know. I mean, it bugs me because even though I have all of them, I don't want to rely on them. Even my favorite show, we're talking about movies and TV. My favorite show ever is a show called Community. Guess who owns the Blu-ray set of Community? Because I don't trust that Netflix won't pull that show. It's been there for years, but just in case, I got the Blu-ray. But this is where I turn it over to you and ask you guys what your thoughts are on it. Where do you spend a lot of your gaming money? Is it on physical copies? Is it on digital? Do you really believe in like the Game Pass model and the subscriptions? Do you love the fact that you only have to spend maybe $15 a month and you have this gigantic library of games available to you and even new games coming out? Or are you a person who would rather just have maybe 5 to 10, which is a lot, of physical copies a year and that be it? Like, that's all for you. Or a hybrid of the two, mostly digital, but if it's your favorite game, you'll buy it physically. I don't know, anything and everything. I'm really curious what your thoughts are on this one. And if you could tell me what your thoughts are on Electrician Simulator as well, all of that included in the comment section would be amazing. I love each and every one of you guys. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.